Demasiado triste mi situación y la situación que está pasando mi país.
After an agonizing 3-month journey fleeing his home country of Venezuela, for John Luis Alvarez, this is welcome to America. Tired, alone, and penniless, he's forced to ask for money on the streets of El Paso, Texas.
Estoy pidiendo limosna, la verdad, porque nunca en mi vida había pedido, amigo, y tengo hambre y de verdad quiero completar un pasaje.
The 21-year-old nursing student, hungry, fueled solely by purpose.
Mi mamá sufre de tuberculosis y entonces yo venía muy apresurado.
¿Veniste acá para apoyar a tu mamá porque está enferma?
Sí, quiero mis papeles y quiero salir adelante en una universidad porque yo veo que aquí hay un futuro.
Alvarez's story of determination over desperation is common at the border. He's part of a rapidly growing number of migrants arriving in the past 2 weeks seeking asylum, the vast majority from Venezuela.
The surge we're seeing now may be only the tip of the iceberg. Not only did people begin relocating to Central and South America years ago, but people have continued to travel to that region intending to come to the United States.
Some of them trekking through the dangerous jungles of the Darien Gap to reach North America. Officials reported more than 142,000 migrant encounters at the southern border in the first half of September alone, on pace to be the highest single month this year, if not of all time. In the past week, U.S. Border Patrol apprehended about 8,000 migrants per day, numbers that we haven't seen since the final days of Title 42, the pandemic-era policy that allowed officials to quickly expel most migrants at the border without allowing asylum claims.
We knew at that time that migrants were waiting in Mexico to understand how the U.S. policies from the Biden administration would affect them, and now we're seeing those migrants beginning to return to those movements.
The influx straining border towns.
We've gotten to the breaking point.
And big cities around the country.
This issue will destroy New York City.
And raising questions for the federal government.
How sustainable is this, your ability to respond to this amount of people at the border?
This isn't sustainable.
The latest crisis revealing just how broken our immigration system is.
The current surge at the southern border should surprise no one. What is surprising is that we aren't better prepared to deal with it, that we do not have a comprehensive national plan.
In Eagle Pass, Texas today, the tension between federal and state agencies on full display. The Texas National Guard erecting more wire as a group of migrants lined up by the Rio Grande to get through. Only for federal Border Patrol officers to step in and cut the wire. Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens defending his team.
To ask my men and women to sit there and watch them succumb to the environment, to ask them to watch them get swept away by the river, to ask them to watch women and children drown is not something I or anybody else would ever do. I applaud them and I support them 100% for doing what they had to do to protect the lives of not just migrants, but everybody that's involved.
Late last week, Eagle Pass declared a state of emergency after more than 5,000 migrants entered the small town of just 28,000.
This is definitely a very serious situation for the city of Eagle Pass.
The city's mayor, Rolando Salinas, expressing his outrage with the White House in a recent interview with CNN.
We're here abandoned, we're on the border, we're asking for help, this is unacceptable.
Owens, the top U.S. official here on the front lines, says human smugglers surged migrants to Eagle Pass for a reason.
I believe it's a money-making opportunity for those smugglers, and I believe it's a distraction for them to cross other things in the country.
Other things like?
Narcotics, fentanyl, bulk cash, weapons, people of interest, whether it be hardened criminals, gang members, convicted sexual predators.
500 miles away from Eagle Pass, in El Paso, the city working to bus migrants to their chosen final destinations.
When the asylum seekers come into El Paso, they're not coming to El Paso, they're coming to the United States.
Dozens of new arrivals lined up to board this bus heading to New York City, where the mayor is trying to reduce the number of days the city will shelter single adults. In Sunland Park, New Mexico, 15 minutes from El Paso, Fire Chief Danny Medrano has been responding when migrants hurt themselves trying to climb over this wall.
So this is what leads to the broken ankles,
broken ankles, cracked skulls, yeah, that kind of stuff, sure.
And sometimes the accidents are deadly.
We're seeing a lot of search and rescues, a lot of body recoveries.
Deaths.
Yeah, deaths.
How difficult is that for your department?
Well, it is difficult. If we make the call while that person is still alive and we're trying to resuscitate, we look at it as a failure on our part.
For many who make the journey, the risk is worth it. A large part of the influx has been displaced Venezuelans. Since 2015, more than 7 million Venezuelans have left after the country spiraled into an economic and subsequent political crisis. Some head north through the notorious Darien Gap. We met this group praying before beginning the trek through the brutal stretch of jungle. The terrain usually wet and muddy, swallowing what little belongings migrants still own. A pair of jeans, a shoe, a small child's sock.
In 2022, more than 250,000 people made their way through the Darien Gap. By the time July ended this year, that number had already been surpassed. The stuff we're seeing here in the Darien, we've never seen before.
Jose and Maria Torres carrying their baby boy up the muddy hills, fighting to give him a chance at a better life.
¿Por qué quieres ir a los Estados Unidos?
Para un mejor futuro.
Porque es difícil hablar sobre eso.
Sí.
Dime.
Uno pasa muchas cosas y uno desea llegar rápido allá. Darle mejores cosas a él, un mejor futuro.
What we see at the Darien Gap 3 to 4 weeks afterwards will be happening in Mexico, and within just a couple of weeks after that, we'll be arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border.
The crisis we're experiencing today at the southern border really is a generational issue. We anticipate that we will continue to see large numbers of people fleeing poverty, fleeing violence, fleeing disease, traveling to Central and South America with the intention of coming to the United States.
The debate over the best solutions to help the crisis rages on. Late last week, the Biden administration extended temporary protected status to more than 470,000 Venezuelans who arrived in the country before July 31st, allowing them to legally work. The reactions? Mixed.
Even though it's a tool perhaps for the short term that brings about more stability for cities, TPS within itself is not a durable solution for migrants or for what we're seeing at the border. We need to have more stable, long-term pathways.
On the same day he extended TPS protections for Venezuelans, the president defending his administration in remarks to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus.
These migrants will be able to apply for work permits, but that's not all. We've already delivered over $1 billion that Congress appropriated to states and cities receiving migrants.
He also called on Congress to pass $4 billion in additional funding.
I've requested more funding, but instead of stepping up with solutions, Republicans are threatening to shut down the government.
For now, back in El Paso, John Luis Alvarez can only do what's in his control. Dream.
Quiero salir adelante, casarme con mi esposa, hacer mi familia, estudiar si se me da la oportunidad de estudiar, si no, bueno, trabajar, ayudar a mi mamá, pero necesito hacer algo ya.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.